anyone agree by the decision of the board, they may appeal to circuit court within 15 days of the board's decision. Also, no permits or license can be issued until that 15-day appeal period has expired and no appeal has been filed. For information regarding the board's decision or an appeal to circuit court, the Office of Land Use Administration will be your contact. As you come to the podium, we request that you give us your name and address. You address your questions to the board and your comments, not to the staff or others within the audience. And there is a 5-minute limit for each of the applicants. Usually we'll have 4 either in favor or opposition to a variance request, and we'll be considerate of the time as well with those. If you've got an electronic device, I ask that you turn it off or on silent so we don't have any disruption in the meeting. And then we'll start with a roll call. Mr. Davis.
Here.
Mr. Coleman.
Here.
Mr. Metcalf.
Here.
Mr. Burrows.
Here.
Mr. Milling.
Here.
Mr. Golden.
Here.
And I'm William Guest. We have 7 members present. It takes 5 to approve a motion either up or down on a variance request. And we have Mr. Anderson here as our attorney. And we'll go in order. If you have any handouts that you have not presented to the staff, please get those up here before we start. Okay, well, it looks like we're good then. Okay, the first application is 6191, 111 Levert Avenue. Is that how you pronounce it?
Jerry Bird Surveying Company for the applicant, for the owner. Their request is to locate a swimming pool, very small swimming pool in the rear yard behind their house. This orange line is the property line. Swimming pool here. This corner, southwest corner, is 2 feet from the property line. If you read the report, staff report, city code is the deepest part of the pool plus 1 foot. That would be 7 feet, technically. This is the shallow end of the pool. And what we've done to help this situation is we picked up the top of the pool 1 foot above existing ground. So the shallow end is only going to be in the ground 2 feet. Deep end would be in 5 feet. There's an alleyway, 15-foot alleyway to the west of the property. When that plat was recorded, orange being our thing, down at the bottom, it says that the alleys shown on this map are not dedicated to public use. They're owned, I presume, by the owners of Ashland Place. That alley is open. That alley is not improved. Last time I was there, grass is about this high, and there's 2 wheel ruts, like a country road, going down it. I don't know who rides through there, but they don't go down it very much. But the pool would be constructed out of concrete, which will help in the structural stability of it. There is a cedar tree. I don't know if I think it was mentioned in the staff report up in this area. They wanted to stay away from that cedar tree, although not the best looking thing in the world. It is a nice enough tree. Didn't want to disturb the root system and or kill it off. And locating the pool in this area seemed like a good thing. I don't know what else I could add to it. Like I say, the alleyway protects the people on the other side from any problem with their property. The owners do intend to build a concrete block wall along the property line, and that would. Yes, that's you. That's me again. That would protect visibility from the neighbors, and
What's the distance of the pool to the covered porch?
I think it's about 8.5 feet.
Is the porch uphill or downhill from the pool?
It will be 1 foot higher. It's going to be one step from the pool deck up. When we lifted the pool up, there'll still be one step down to the pool deck.
What's the actual dimension of the pool?
Sir?
What is the actual dimensions of the pool?
14 feet wide and 31.5 feet long.
Okay.
It's been cut down pretty small. I don't think anything narrower than 14 feet. Yeah, I guess you could get wet in it.
Yeah.
But it's 3 feet to about 10 feet and then slopes down to a 6-foot depth for about 10 feet.
Okay. Any questions of the board for the applicant's rep? Okay, thank you. Anyone in the audience either in favor of this application or in opposition today? Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I think we have an issue here. The application was for a variance for 5.5 feet. It was advertised that way, and now they're amended their application for 2 foot. And I think that might be an issue, even though there's nobody here in objection. It was advertised as one thing, and then the neighbors were noticed for one application, and then after the notice was sent out, they amended their application. And even though it's up against an alleyway and there's nobody here in opposition, I think that legally it needs to be re-advertised.
Okay.
It's kind of like and I'm not accusing Jerry of anything, but it's kind of like a bait and switch. You know, you advertise for one thing and then you come here and ask for more. And I know that's not their intent, but legally it could be argued that way.
Jerry, if you'll come back up. How did you arrive at the current measurements versus what was advertised?
Well,
Come to the podium.
yeah, we had submitted, I think for the July deadline, end of June, July deadline, and then asked that it be held over to a September meeting. While they looked at a lot of pools, tried to make up their mind how landscaper and the pool constructor could actually locate it in there. And it came down to this design. I don't know, I think we submitted 3 weeks ago, but the original mail out apparently had already gone out, even though it was going to be held over to September.
So we didn't have the actual,
Well, we had one, you know, what you see is what they talked about to begin with. And then after working and looking at pool designs, they came up with this design. I understand. I don't know at what stage notices did go out, when they normally would go out, but we had asked for a holdover. I was going to be out in town for the August meeting, and couldn't hold it over one to the August, and then it rolled on down to this one.
okay.
I'm not sure about the exact timing, but the provision was submitted after the mailing went out notifying the neighbors.
So you started this back in July or June.
Yeah.
So we had time to get the correct mailer out if notice had been given that you're changing the dimensions.
Okay.
Okay. Questions of the board?
We do have sufficient time to get it noticed properly for the next meeting, so just a 1 month holdover.
When do you have to have?
Well, and also just know that with Board of Adjustment applications, you do have to have notices in the newspaper, and they have to appear twice. So we would probably need any revised information, the revised setback request, probably by later this week in order to have it sent out correctly.
Well, I have a question. You brought up, it may have been you, in your statement that the alleyway is not a public alleyway? Is it like owned by the neighborhood association?
Well, I was only reading at the bottom of the plat that was recorded in 1907. what's transpired since 1907, I don't know.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I looked up the ownership just on the city's GIS, and it doesn't show any ownership, just like a public,
Yeah.
like a public alley would normally show, like a city street, but that's just according to the tax assessor. So no one's paying taxes on it, so it's just kind of there.
I'm just curious if the homeowners group actually owned it, and therefore this property owner actually has part ownership of that alleyway. You know how you kind of split it sometimes if you got,
It would only be in a deed.
if it was
If it's
in
not
the
in the
deed?
deed, it's not.
Yeah, okay. I'm just trying to
Okay.
think of
Yeah.
different points. All right, well, based on staff's recommendation that we hold this over, give ample time for notice and publication, I recommend that we hold it over to the next meeting. Chair, entertain a motion. Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. See you next month. All right, application 6202, Ingleside Drive West. Yes, sir. Your name and address for the record?
Craig Erdman Surveying, 4337 Schillinger Road South, Mobile, 36619.
Okay, on your application, we've got two recommendations. One's denial for the storage building, and then the second, the recommendation is for the setback on the garage.
Right, what it is Mr. Dixon can't move the stuff out of his shed until he finishes the garage. He can't finish the garage till he gets a variance. But once he moves it out of the shed, he was going to tear down that shed that's 6.8 feet
Okay.
from the property line.
From reviewing the staff's report, it appears that there was multiple times for the applicant to know that, be aware that there was an 8-foot setback.
Yes, he went by the fence line that was there. If you measured from the building to the fence line, it was over 8 feet. But the property line was on this side of the fence line, not the fence line itself.
Okay.
That's why it came up 7.7 feet instead of 8.
Okay. Any questions of the board for the applicant's rep?
I guess just to clarify, you
Yes.
said he is going to tear that shed down.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
If you want,
If-
I can get him to write a letter to the board stating that he will tear it down after he gets the garage built and the contents moved,
We can make that a stipulation
Yeah,
if the
you
board
could,
should choose.
if that's all right. Yeah.
Okay, with a certain, maybe a specified time limit. Okay, anyone in the audience in favor of this application? Anyone in opposition today? All right, staff recommends denial on the storage building, but the applicant's rep has conceded that they'll tear it down with ample time for the construction of the garage if the variance is approved. Chair, entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm sorry, I do have one more question.
Yes, sir.
If the variance is approved, do you know how long will be before, that it'll take for them to finish the construction of the garage?
Mr. Dixon, how long before you finish?
You got to
the
come
garage?
to the podium if you're going to make a statement, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And your name and address.
It might take me,
Your name and
Your
address,
name
sir.
and address.
Eh?
Name and address.
it's 8020 Eagleside Drive, Mobile, Alabama 36608.
Your name.
My name is Dixon Kikanko, and my wife's name is Jean Kikanko.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So it'll take you how long?
I can demolish it in 2 months.
So 60 days?
Just 60 days.
Wait, to build the garage or to
The
demolish?
the garage is there, but
just not finished.
I stopped when there was that discrepancy.
So you're finished with the garage, so all you have to do is move the stuff from the shed into the garage, and then you
No,
can take...
I stopped when it was surveyed and there was that variance of like
Right.
3 inches.
Right.
Yes.
So how-
I have not finished. I have like 30 days to finish, and then 30 days to finish and transfer the things from the shed to the garage.
60 days?
60 days.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any further questions of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I might
Yes.
suggest that we could consider saying that within 15 days of the final certificate of occupancy or final approval for the construction of the garage, that the shed be removed. That way, if it takes him longer than 60 days to actually complete the garage completion will be the date certain that will trigger the shed removal.
Correct. Okay. Once again, any other questions of the board or comments? Okay, Chair, entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the completion of the construction of the garage with the stipulation that the shed will be demolished within 15 days after completion of the garage.
Second.
Okay, and all other conditions as established by the
Yes.
staff? Okay, and your second as
Second,
well? All right, any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, application 6203, 2152, 205 Congress Street. Broughton?
And Mr. Chairman, before we start, I wanted to advise you that the initial application was to have a bar cafe with an occupancy load of 150 people. That included the house itself and then an outdoor deck area for entertainment. Once we advertised this through the newspaper as well as sending out the notices, we received revised drawings in late August that showed that they were proposing to reduce the occupant load to 75 people total, and that would include a reduced outdoor deck. So based on the interpretation of the Downtown Development District regulations, a cafe is allowed if it has less than 100 people occupant load. So with the revised drawings that were submitted late August, a 75-person occupant load cafe bar would be allowed by right at this location.
Okay.
So,
So it means the applicant can withdraw their request and this issue is mute.
I withdraw.
Okay, therefore. Was there anyone here in the audience in favor or opposition to this today? Okay, you may want to talk to staff and get clarification based on the downtown development codes.
Okay.
All right. Sorry for your time. It sounds like this is withdrawn, and therefore we won't have any reason for a public hearing on it. Okay. If you want to stay around, you're welcome, or if you want to depart, we'll give you a minute to leave us here. All right, while we're allowing these folks to leave, depart 6204, 6090, 4720, Ryco Signs.
Hello, how are y'all? I'm Sandra Wright, Ryco Signs, on behalf of AutoNation Ford, address 3345 Halls Mill Road.
Okay. And the staff's recommended for approval. And it looks like it was a previously approved sign variance. So how has it changed from the previous?
In reading through, the original variance was in 98 for the 3 wall signs. The variance from 2017 had something to do with landscaping and not signage, so I'm not
Okay.
100% sure.
And how did we end up, I think it's 5 signs now. You've got 3 on the building
Two
and then
freestanding,
2.
yes, sir, that's what it was under Treadwell
So
4.
they're existing signs that are in, you're just changing them out.
Yes, sir, they're revamping the dealership. And then these are just updated signs to replace what was there.
Okay. Any questions of the board for the applicant? I truly had one question.
Okay.
The two forward signs, ovals, why, other than symmetry, why are there two necessary? Other than that may have been the way it was previously.
I believe so. I mean, the previous location, I mean, the previous facade had the two logos. Why they did different sizes unless it was in proportion to the area of the fascia.
To be honest with you, I just don't see the reason why you needed two. I mean, you've got the one in the center, alternation to the left, and then the two signs to the right are more informational to me. I guess this is required because it's a update. I mean, I would have thought it'd been continuous.
Well, in the narrative that was provided, it was mentioned that the update that's being done to the building includes, I guess, a sign package that is required as part of the corporate design package that they're implementing. So I believe that would be the reasoning behind having the two Ford logos.
No, well, I guess my question is, if this was already existing, they already had.
Right, they're just updating then the previous variants to show the new signage that will be in less in terms of total square footage. And so that would mean that the allowed signage would consequently drop down to this amount that is proposed.
Okay. All right, thank you. Once again, any questions of the board for the applicant? Anyone here either in favor or opposition to this variance request? Okay, we have none for the record. Staff recommends approval, subject to conditions, and you're in agreement with the conditions?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Chair, entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve subject to staff recommendations.
Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
What was that? Okay, application 6205, Branch Towers. Yes, sir.
David Wilkins, agent for Branch Towers 3 LLC and T-Mobile, P.O. Box 1038, Gulf Shores, Alabama 36547.
And your application, the staff's recommended for approval as well, subject to conditions. Any,
I recommend approval too,
you're
sir.
in agreement? Okay. I thought so. All right. Any questions of the board for the applicant's rep? All right. Anyone in the audience in favor or opposition to application 6205? Okay, we have none for the record. Once again, staff recommends approval subject to specific conditions. Chair, entertain a motion.
Don't move, Mr. Chair.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Application 6206. And I hate to say the name, Pterodon Holdings? Okay. That's the reason why, preface. And your name and address, sir?
Tarleton Connor McCleary of 363 Rapier Avenue.
And your application is recommended for approval, subject to conditions?
Correct.
Okay. Any questions of the board for the applicant? Okay, there are none. Anyone in the audience either in favor or opposition to this application today? Okay. We have none as well. In our handout, or our packet of stuff we received earlier, do we have any property owners in opposition? Pardon? We did? Looks like we've got a kind of a mix of things here about the cafe. That's the reason why I asked.
Jim Mitchell, 308.
Well, there is one dated August 29th. And they question the use of the building for 2 tenants. They think that it's so small that only one should be allowed. We did work with the applicant and reviewed their plans for renovation of the building, and there was a history of there being 2 units in this building, but unfortunately, prior to the applicants purchasing the structure, the family that owned it, the main owner died, and the inheritors did not go through the process of maintaining the structure sufficiently to maintain its non-conforming status. So that's why the application is for you now, is to go back and apply a variance to this so that they can use the building as it has been actually built. It has been there for many years. So it was originally a duplex, and it just went vacant for about 5 years before the gentleman bought it.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes.
What renovations are y'all planning to do?
Basically just renovate, what's there. We're not changing any floor plans. We're not changing, anything major. We're just updating the building itself.
With paint, carpet, flooring?
Right, flooring, obviously new appliances, things of that nature.
Do you have tenants, or you just going to do it and then advertise?
I'm going to renovate it prior to putting tenants in there.
Just offer it for lease?
Correct.
Okay. Any further questions? Yes.
But I understand that this is an R1 neighborhood. My question is, it just happens to be in my district. Why would we get so many R2 applicants approved in an R1 neighborhood?
Well, the city went through a rezoning process in the late 80s or mid 90s where they looked at the entire Oakley Garden District. And at that time, nearly all of the Oakley Garden District, the historic district, was zoned R3 multifamily residential. And based upon that study, it was determined that downzoning most of the neighborhood to R1 single family was the best way to maintain property values and to discourage future apartments coming into the neighborhood. Now, on this street in particular, the gentleman's property is itself built as a duplex, and then across the street, I believe there are at least 3 other structures here that were built as and are occupied as duplex structures. So within Oakley, even though now it's been primarily zoned R1 single family residential, there still are many existing either duplexes or actual apartments within the neighborhood. And while this is just trying to get approval to renovate the existing building so that it can be reused as a duplex, the R1 will prevent new construction coming in for new apartment complexes.
Well, it concerns me that it looks to be over time, the city was just saying, okay, it's an R1, R2 neighborhood. I mean, a District 2 neighborhood, which is predominantly black. Let's just mix it all up, even though they are R1.
Mr. Coleman, you had a question or comment?
No, I think the history of it, the duplex on the other side of the street, you go down Straight Street, and a lot of duplexes in there. I grew up in that neighborhood too, and it's a good neighborhood.
Was it all R1 or multifamily?
It was multifamily too.
How long ago?
I'm 80 years old. I'm 80 years old.
Okay. Well, that still sort of conforms to my theory.
Any further questions or comments? Okay. Staff recommends approval, subject to conditions. The applicant's in agreement with those conditions? Have you
Yes,
looked
sir.
at the requirements?
I have.
Okay. Anyone in the audience, once again, either in favor or opposition? Okay, we have none. Chair, entertain a motion.
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, I have 6 approved and 1 opposed. Motion carries. All right, we'll go to the last application, which is 6207, Government Street Holdings.
I believe this is the
No, this
next
is
to
I'm
last.
sorry. Yeah.
Melanie Bunting, 911 Government Street, Mobile 36604. I am the owner.
Okay, and have you seen staff's recommendation?
I have. I agree.
You agree? You got a lot of conditions on yours. Okay. Any questions of the board for the applicant? Anyone in the audience in favor or opposition? Okay, we have none. It's all about landscaping, pretty much, right?
Yeah, parking stops,
Okay.
things that make sense.
All right, Chair, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, application 8, which is 6208, South Dearborn Street.
Tony M. Jones.
A little closer, I'm sorry.
Tony M. Jones, 221 South Dearborn Street, Church Street East, Garden District.
Okay, and your application is recommended for denial. You want to tell us why we ought to consider otherwise?
I need a garage, that's why. And the lot is big enough to support it.
Okay,
To get off the street, we've been there 20 years, and we'd like to get off the street.
all right, I think in our packet, we also had some comments regarding your property as well.
In favor or opposed?
I believe they were opposed. That's what I'm looking at. You had some for. It looks like you had a couple for. Support the request. Support the request. You had not opposed.
Yeah. Put it in the handout. You got the
Okay.
last 2 pages.
Yeah. What's the story about this building that you've got on the back? It looks like it's higher than the fence shed.
Yes. I didn't realize they changed the rule to only two buildings per lot when the shed was built.
How long has the shed been there?
It's going on, what, 2.5 years now? Yeah.
And
They changed it in May 16, and it was started in February of 16.
is this because of the district?
The downtown development district regulations are what changed the number of allowed structures on a property, and they were actually adopted in May of 2014. And this site, a very small portion of this property is actually within a flood zone. So I believe that they had to, A, get a building permit because it was in a flood zone, and then provide the additional information that is necessary when you have projects in flood zones. Typically, a shed that is less than 200 square feet in a non-flood zone area on a residential property would not require a permit, but because this one is in a flood zone, it does require a permit, and then because it's in the downtown development district, this entire property is only limited, or is limited to a total of 2 buildings. So I'm not sure if the applicant could use the proposed garage for storage as well, and thus not have to have the separate storage building, or if the board does want to consider the applicant's request at hand.
Okay. What's the size of the shed?
It's 10 by 12.
And the garage looks like it's going to be fairly substantial that you're proposing.
Well, it's in scale with the house. That's why it's that 2-story, and it is substantial, yes.
So could you do away with the shed once you have the garage?
Well, and the condition it's getting into, it looks like it's going to do away with itself. So I couldn't do anything after they noticed the shed going up, so it's not bricked. The brick are sitting in the yard, so.
So would you be willing to do away with the shed, similar to the application we had earlier today? And then this won't be an issue for us, other than it's a matter of timing for, you have to, as a condition.
Y'all wouldn't consider it with the shed there and completed?
Well, we're already been told that it's not allowed by right unless you can tell us why, what the hardship is.
Well, the hardship is we'd like to park off the street, you know, especially during Mardi Gras and stuff like that, so.
No, I'm talking about for the shed.
Oh, the shed. Well, other than I have nowhere to store my stuff right now until the garage is complete, yes.
So if it was a condition of this board to approve your garage with the understanding that the shed would disappear within a certain period of time after that, would that?
Are you willing to do that?
As I stated, we had a similar incident earlier where the gentleman was allowed a certain amount of time to take the shed down.
Well, we'd like to keep both if there would be.
It's up to you. I mean, you're the applicant, but you've got to convince the board that there's a hardship for you to have that. And that's the only reason I'm even making that offer. If you want to proceed with both requests, then that's your prerogative.
You want to do that? Or tear the shed down?
Well, it's on a slab. It's not actually a shed. It's actually a.
It's a building,
brick
yeah.
With a poured concrete slab. So.
Okay.
So the slab would still be there. I mean.
Yeah. True, but a slab can be there without it being an issue.
Well, okay, I see what you're saying.
Paint it green.
Okay. Any questions of the board for the applicant?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Question for staff, or the applicant. What is the footprint of your house?
It's the one that says.
No, I can see. What is the square footage of the footprint?
What is the square footage? It's 3 stories. It's a federal townhouse. It's like 3,800 square feet.
So maybe 1,000 square feet?
Yeah, first
Footprint.
floor, yeah. Okay.
And then.
I think it's 1,200 to be exact.
Okay, and then the footprint of the proposed building, maybe just a little bit less than that, maybe 800 to 1,000?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to get an idea of the.
And it's 1/3 of an acre of lot. It's one of the biggest lots in Church Street East.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions of the board for the applicant?
I have a question.
Yes.
The shed was started, no permit, and then you got a stop work order.
I didn't know about the flood zone thing. And at the time when we built there, at first, we weren't in the flood zone. But now it covers that little corner right where the edge of the driveway goes into the property. The flood zone's about that little section of the corner from Canal Street.
Okay, and I guess I'm still asking about the shed. So how long has the shed been in its current unfinished state?
For 3 years. Like it started in February of 16.
Okay.
Because we put our name in the slab, so, and the date. And then in May, they changed the rule.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So you started in May of 16, and you said they changed the rules. You talking about the DDD?
Yes.
Okay. Did you get noticed at that time?
No.
But
So they came out and told me that once it went above the fence, they came out.
And when did that happen?
It was like in July, wasn't it?
Of this year?
No, of that year.
Okay.
When it went above the fence, that's when the neighbor complained.
Okay. So did you get a notice from the city at that point?
No, they came out and just said, stop.
The city did?
Yes.
Okay. So Bert, what was going to be the process if they were told to stop?
Well, first of all, the downtown regulations were adopted in May of 2014.
Okay.
Not 2016.
Okay.
So the regulations came into effect in 2014.
So they didn't permit or go through review?
Right. Now, to build a building downtown, you're supposed to go through the Consolidated Review Committee,
right,
which is a free application. You set up a meeting with essentially mostly city staff. You go over the proposed project. Staff makes recommendations of the process to go through after that, whether it's the Board of Adjustment, They would also have to go through the historic review, since we're in a historic district, get approval that way.
And then engineering and everything else for permitting?
That's
After
correct.
all those were done?
Yes.
So nothing was done?
No steps have been taken to try to come into compliance or get variances since the stop work order was issued, to my knowledge.
Okay, so what would have happened after that as far as the city was concerned? Were they going to say, you got to tear it down, or you just can't work on it anymore, it's got to sit there?
We
or?
could issue a municipal offense ticket to go to environmental court, and then the judge could require the structure be torn down.
But that's been 2 years, nothing's happened, right?
Well, it depends on who issued the stop work order. Zoning would have perhaps followed up more quickly. If it was building code that issued it, they may not have followed up as quickly. So yes, it has been 2 years, and I'm not sure if this did go through municipal court or not.
Okay, but there's Doug, there's no time frames where any action has got to take place at a certain time?
No.
Okay. All right, that's what I need to know. Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions? Okay. I can say probably safely we have no one either in favor or opposition in the audience. Sir, your name and address, do you have anything to add?
Thomas Baines, same address.
Okay. Do you have anything to add that we haven't already heard?
Only thing is that I think we're confused about the dates of when the shed was started. I think, didn't you say 16?
Yeah.
But it's been longer than that.
Well, I don't recall.
Okay. Because I think it was started in the same year as the ordinance was changed. It was started in February, and then of the same year it's changed in May.
So you're saying it's close to 4 years?
It's been there. It's been a while. Yeah.
And we see where Gail had complained about the condition of it, so. And that's the only complaint I see. If there was more, I don't see that.
Okay, well, notice we have, it says about 3 years ago. Stop work order was received about 3 years ago. So within a few months, you said you were building it and it got to the fence height.
Right.
So you might have been less than the time period. So it may have been 17 or 16. Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have one more
Yes.
question. With regards to the garage, where are you in your planning stages with that?
It's all planned. It's all been approved by the Architectural Review Board.
Okay, so you've gone through that.
Yes.
Do you have construction drawings?
Yes.
Okay, but you haven't, I don't need to see them. Have you, but you're waiting for this before you submit for permits?
Right. That is correct.
Also, I think they would need to go before the CRC. I don't believe that they've seen that. And let me also point out that the proposed curb cut, based on my best ability to scale the drawing that was submitted, the regulations would limit it to 25 feet in width, and it looks like this one is proposed to be 30. So technically that would need a variance, because that's not necessarily something staff can waive. But that hasn't been requested.
And that's the driveway you're talking about?
Yes. Okay, so we have the driveway. We have
It's not that wide because we.
Just a second, I'm just getting clarification.
Okay.
We have the driveway, which would need a variance. We have the setback on the,
Yes.
on the garage.
Yes.
And then we also have this second structure on the property as well. or
Third
the
structure.
So we have three things in which we're asked to look at today.
Yes.
Okay, is that all that we have? I'll make sure I haven't missed anything.
The driveway variance is not in front of you
No,
today.
I know that. That's
Okay,
why-
well, you just said, you just referenced that as well.
That would be a condition of engineering or traffic, I would say.
Not an issue.
No, the driveway width is specifically talked about in the downtown development district regulations.
Okay.
So,
And that would be, Mr. Chairman, that would be addressed in CRC? Would,
it would be talked about in CRC, and then we would say, if you want to keep it at 30 feet, you have to come before the board to get a variance.
okay, are you gentlemen aware of what the CRC, what he's talking about?
No, sir.
Well, we can explain, but there's the ARB, or Architectural Review Committee, and then in the downtown development district, under the new zoning, there is a separate review committee called the Consolidated Review Committee, CRC. And so you know, if you get approved here, you would have to go to them to sit down with them to show them your plans before you could proceed with permitting.
May I just say that the driveway is not going to be that large. We have
Okay,
two.
well, we're not talking about the driveway right now, I'm just talking about the
Okay.
process. I want you to understand it.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, question.
Yes.
Would it make sense to hold over, let them go to CRC, get a better feel for what may or may not fly in their eyes, and then come back here?
I'm not sure what advantage that would give anybody, because they would have to, if you're talking about addressing a driveway,
The driveway, the shed, the garage?
then they would have to submit another application anyway for that.
Well, take the driveway out of it, on the shed, which is, I mean, it's kind of muddying the water. You know, I think if we had to vote on the garage today, we certainly could. The shed seems in question. If CRC were to agree to the shed.
I don't think the CRC has any
They
say
don't.
on the shed. I think that's us. That's correct.
The CRC doesn't really have the authority to agree or not agree. We just review the proposed project and let them know where it does or does not comply with the regulations and where they might have to get a variance if they want to move forward with the proposal. So they don't have to have CRC approval. It just has to be looked at by the CRC. They would need, however, to get historic review and permits for the shed before they could complete that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any further questions, comments? Okay, just my thought is that just like the previous applicant, you could lose the shed and accommodate, possibly be accommodated with your new garage. Looks like it's a fairly sizable garage. The curb cut would have to be in line with normal traffic engineering requirements. And then the setback seems like it's very common with that area. I mean, it's not unusual from what I've seen in that area. Maybe others on the board may have better perspective on that. Okay. Chair, entertain a motion. Well, I guess the chair will make a motion. Motion to approve the garage with the setback as requested, with the condition that the storage shed be removed within, I'll say 60 days, since you have a little bit more construction in this one, and all the materials relocated to the garage once it's approved for occupancy, and that your curb cut be in line with traffic engineering requirements for the area. So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any further
Mr.
discussion?
Chairman, just
Yes.
clarification, it's 60 days from receipt of a certificate of occupancy.
For the garage.
For the garage, okay.
Yes. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Nay.
I have 6 affirming and 1 opposition.
Okay.
All right. Any other business today? Mr. Anderson?
Thank you.
All right. A motion to adjourn? All right. Well, everyone have a good day.